Well, hello, and welcome to the Chamber Connection podcast. So, let me ask you, does your chamber like making money? Does your chamber have staff or is thinking about hiring staff in the next little while? Or maybe that you have some reserve funds and what to be doing that with the savings? Or maybe there's some expenses that you're dealing with as well, how you cut costs. Now, in this episode, you are going to learn and hear about some tips and tricks on running a chamber like a business. And sometimes we kind of lose that a bit. Some chambers have a tough time with that. But it's an actual fact. You have to run your chamber like a business in order for it to survive. How can you be the voice for business if your chamber isn't running like a business? Now, we have two amazing guests. They have years of experience in this chamber world and running their chambers successfully in different programs and their staff and all of their approaches. So these tactics or approaches to certain things might not exactly fit with your chamber, but try to understand where they're coming from, what their region offers, how it all relates, and maybe how can your chamber adapt to something like that. Or maybe there's some things here that you can directly steal. That's what we're all good at in the chamber world, that R&D. All right, so enough from here. Let's get into it because there's lots to go over in this episode. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Chamber Connection. I'm here with my podcast host, Steve Chiakota from the Parkland Chamber. I'm Melanie Fraser from the Halton Hills Chamber. And today we're welcoming Tanya Oliver from the Grand Prairie and District Chamber of Commerce and Paul Markle from the Barrie Chamber of Commerce in Ontario. So Paul, I'll just give a little quick bio that I stole off your LinkedIn. So I've always known this about you, but you're an experienced executive with a history of demonstrated success in customer service across several industries. So hopefully we'll chat about that today. You know, you've got some great skills in operations management, loss prevention, management, employee training, and organizational development. So we're happy to talk about that today and also maybe delve into your background as a sales professional. And then Tanya, we're so happy to have you today. Your bio was amazing, by the way. I actually had to cut a little bit of it out, so I'm so sorry. But you are a natural community builder with a growth-focused mindset. You thrive on diversity and understanding the value of different perspectives, and you find the many facets of business advocacy fascinating and appreciate a solution-based approach with your chamber board and your local stakeholders. So welcome to you both. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So why don't we start with, just so people know context, Tanya, why don't you tell us a little bit about your chamber? How many members do you have? What's your staff cohort look like?
Sure thing. So currently we have around 1,100 members. And so we're pretty proud of that. It's actually down from before COVID, unfortunately, but we're working on growing it, but it's a solid number. And our staff team, typically we have 6 people. We currently have 1 person on leave. So I've recently added a part-time position because this person's on leave. She's already been on leave for a few months and she'll be on leave till the end of January. So I think we're going to dive into that maybe a little bit later. But yeah, there's 6 of us, which is not always enough. So I'm trying to find ways to be efficient and eventually add some people.
How big is your catchment area? How many people, how many businesses would you be servicing in, with your 1,100 membership?
So the population of the city is just under 70,000 people. And then the surrounding county and MD adds another about 20,000 people. So it's about 90,000 people in our catchment area.
Well done.
And it's unclear exactly how many businesses, but it's a very connected community.
Wow, you're killing it. Paul, I mean, those are big shoes to fill, but you are killing it in Barrie too. Tell us about the size of your chamber and how many staff you have.
Well, first of all, it's not always about the size that matters when you really get down to it. You got to get the right size for your community.
Yeah.
Well said, Paul. Well said.
Yeah, we're a chamber that was at one time about 1,200, 1,500 at some point years and years ago. We've successfully downsized that to about 700, and we're coming back from the pandemic. So through the years, It's a solid 7. We know the 7 are members. There's no fluff in there, which I think is something that happens a lot of chambers. You get away from paying attention to the numbers and the people that don't pay, etc. From a market penetration standpoint, our community is 167,000. When we're actually the Greater Barrie Chamber of Commerce, when you add in the catchment area, we balloon up to 250, probably closer to 300,000. And then we have adjacent chambers to us as well. So many of our members are members of both chambers for whatever reason. But we're working on growth, and from a retention standpoint, we're at a point now where we had about, I think, 85% retention last year, which is great. Historically, it's been about 65%. So that's really one of our strategies, is to keep them once we get them.
Yeah, good for you. And how many staff do you have?
I am one of 3.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, so I use a box management style for the most part, and a team approach to everything that we do, from membership all the way through. Are we understaffed? Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I got very good staff. When I took the job, I said to my board, here's my budget request, get out of my way, and let me hire the staff I need to be able to deliver. And so far we've done that. We'll bring part-time people in as needed, because, as you know, the chamber's cyclic system, and from realigning our schedule, we're able to create breaks in between where we can get a lot of stuff done, and then we stay focused on events when the events come up. But yeah, my goal is to add advocacy. We'll talk about that down the line, but
yeah.
I'd like to get up to about 5, or would be ideal, and move from there.
Amazing.
Wow.
You guys are, wow, doing like servicing that many members in that kind of an area with that little team. That's astonishing. And we've had conversations with chambers before where I don't understand how you guys are accomplishing what you're accomplishing with that level of talent, but amazing. Good on you guys. You mentioned events. I'm gonna kind of, maybe it's events, maybe it's a different program. I'm gonna pick on you first, Paul, but what are maybe a couple of your major revenue generators that your chamber is taking on, and then how have those evolved over time if they've been on your roster for a little bit?
Yeah. So we run 2 awards programs, a business awards, which is I have a press conference just after this, where we're announcing our finalists. It's in its 22nd year. And we hand out 15 awards. That's growing. With events, you find you get to a capacity, right? Based on the number of bums you can put in seats, but also time. That's our largest generator. We do about 80 to 90,000 top line with it. And then we have a Women in Business Awards, which is growing. It's in its 8th year. I would say that it's probably our most popular event. There's an energy in that room that's incredible. And we're generating revenue with it. This year will probably be about 75,000 with it. And I would expect, moving forward, it'll continue to grow. We run the dreaded Santa Claus Parade, which is the bane of my existence.
Right to the worst.
We'll talk about hating Santa shortly. A golf tournament, and then we have a roundtable series and speaker series as things come up, mayor's breakfast, those kinds of economic events. But we found in the pandemic that we had an imbalance. We were way too heavily invested in event revenue, and that hurt us. When you lose event and you lose membership and those opportunities, it hurts. So we're looking for other ways of building non-dues revenue.
Yeah, smart approach, diversity. Yeah, when you lose something, you got to make sure that something else can sustain it. So,
Steve, can I ask a quick question of Paul?
yeah, absolutely.
So I do not make $90,000 off my awards. I wish. My awards are in 3 weeks. I think I'd be a lot happier if I did. So is that sponsorship tickets? Like, what does that look like for you?
Combination of both. An award sponsorship is $3,500. Title sponsorship, $7,500, platinum $5,000, and then we have a number of other, kind of like a golf tournament. If somebody's got money, you'll find something for them to sponsor. You're the curtain sponsor this year, whatever. Anything you can do to generate, and then ticket pricing we've left alone, even though there's been some increases cost wise. We've been trying to keep that reasonable so that we can make sure that it's full. We have a problem with capacity. Like, I can only put 300 people into a room. I just don't have facilities anywhere in Barrie that can put more than that in comfortably. So we look for other ways to generate additional revenue on it. But yeah, it's yeah.
Good on you. Great.
Yeah. It's a gala, right? It's the premier business event in the city.
Mhm.
We don't attach any entertainment to it. There's nothing else. It's purely awards. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's good. It works well.
Awesome.
Tan, yeah, what's going on at your chamber? What are kind of a couple major programs that you're running that are making you some big bucks?
Yeah, so one thing we do, and we've done it for 26 years now, every other year, is our Peace Region Energy Show. So that one is a major revenue generator. We make about $250,000 on it, but then that's split over the 2 years. So we're partners with
Whoa,
our Petroleum Association.
how much are you
Hang
making
on.
on that? Breaks.
So we get a management fee plus we get 70% of the revenue, and with it being every other year and it's energy show specific. So I wanted to spend less time talking about that actually, because it's not really that repeatable unless you're in that
Right.
area.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was in
Very true.
Bonnyville, because that was the chamber I managed before for 9 years before coming here, I started the oil and gas show there, and we made a significant amount of money there as well. But it is every 2 years, so you got to kind of split that in half, which is it's a great benefit for us to have it, but unfortunately we become over reliant on it over the years. And every other year when you're specifically drawing from your reserve fund to offset it, it's a conversation every other year. And during COVID, we were supposed to have a show in 2021. We couldn't do it. We had to postpone it. So we were fine because we had reserves. We were able to access the government programs and stuff like that. But it really emphasized how much we needed to do something different as well. And we changed. It used to be the petroleum show. Now we changed it to the energy show. We took that gap year and we rebranded and we renamed, and we are all encompassing for alternative energies as well, and that is growing. So I'm hopeful that it'll continue to be something we can rely on, and it's going to continue to be valuable. But we still need to have other ways, and that's just one segment of our membership and one segment of the community. So yes, we're very fortunate to have that. We're very fortunate to have that partnership with the Petroleum Association, and every other year. So this was an energy show year. So we were able to grow it again, because when we first came back in 2022, it was like weird timing. March of that year, COVID numbers were spiking and there was closures being threatened again. And we're like, oh my God, are we going to actually be able to have it? So we're only about 70% sold out, and people were still kind of like, oh, I don't really want to be in a room with a couple thousand people, right? Like they're kind of a little irked about it. But we were 70% sold, and we made money. So this year we were just over 90% sold, and we, grew our revenue quite a bit because of that. So we're super fortunate.
Does that take a lot of staff resources though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Because we do the whole event management piece of it. So I mean, you got to imagine we've got 300 exhibitors that we're managing, and they take up 400 booth spaces. Like it's massive. It's inside, it's outside, and then you have to draw the crowd. So selling sponsorships. We added a new program this year focused on getting students engaged and changing the conversation around energy, because that's a big issue. People have misconceptions, people get misinformation, people think it's the industry is going to be gone in 10 years. That's a lie. Like I said, we need it, and they're huge supporters of alternate energy as well. So we added a student program. I was able to grow some more revenue that way. But with that lens of we can't rely as much on the energy show as we always have, we started a couple new things. So last year, I'm super proud of our event. It's called Your Region, Your Voice. And we gather all 3 levels of government on stage at the same time. It's not a presentation. It's not scripted. The mics are live on the floor. And so it's a member exclusive event. And it was hugely successful. People loved it, 10 out of 10 across the board. We want it twice a year, like you get it once a year. So it's different. It's a different vibe than anything else we do. It's a plated supper. It's fancier, higher ticket price. And then the sponsorship levels are attached to also prime seating. So in our area, with the 3 big municipalities and the geography that it covers, we actually have 4 MLAs, 3 municipal officials. Well, there's more than 3, but 3 that we invite from the large municipalities, and then our 1 member of parliament. So having 8 of them on stage, we had 7 out of the 8 last year. One of the MLAs couldn't make it, and then our chair moderating it. But it was an amazing conversation. So highly valuable. We're going to grow that. We only,
Good for you.
yeah, we made, we don't also make $80,000 on our awards. I'm going to figure out how to do that. But anyways,
I know, me too.
I think this year
Oh, no,
we're
that's top
projected.
line revenue. That's not profit. That's
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
That's a good
No.
distinction. Okay,
that is
so
okay. I feel better now.
me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so profit wise, this year I'm projecting close to 30,000 for profit on our Your Region, Your Voice. So I'm super excited about that. And then we also last year introduced our chamber champions. So it's a maximum of 10 members. It's $5,000 each, and you get exposure throughout the whole year. So we looked at, what are things that we don't currently have sponsors attached to, and kind of how could we maximize these dollars for these sponsors and kind of trickle it out all year long. So the first year we actually sold out. So it was $50,000, and almost all of it was profit, because like we charged for the events still that they are attached to, and we bought some signage and some stuff, but like I think that first year we got like 46,000 was profit. Like it was amazing. This year we only sold half of them, so we had 5. There's a few different reasons why, but can't go back in time. So anyways, in 2025 I'm projecting to sell out again. But for them, so we have a lunch learning series, so they get recognition at that. We have a big mixer that's also a showcase. They get recognition there. They get some social media shout out. They get some plugs at all of our mixers throughout the year, and just some different things to kind of trickle it out. And it's been really well received. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's
Really
amazing.
like that.
Your geography has a big impact on your ability, to run those bigger events. We're kind of in geographically, and Steve, you've been here, and obviously Melanie, you have as well. There's a lot of tourism, a lot of ag, a lot of advanced manufacturing, and we have proximity to tier 1, like a huge Honda plant and an EV plant that's coming in. But we don't have like rail, like they do in Halton. Sorry, I got a fruit fly in here. We don't have access to that. It's not like we're in Burlington, where again, there's other transportation sectors that will drive. So you'll have an equivalent size chamber that does 1.6 million, where we're 600,000-700,000 a year. So
Yeah,
you have to take advantage of the access you have to that advocacy piece, and to the the larger corporations it'll drive your numbers, right? So that's always a challenge.
I think too, where we are situated, yes, we're part of the GTA, but I'm also, my members are a 10-minute drive from 4 other chambers that are much larger. So, they can go to a 300-person event if that's what is their jam. So we really had to market ourselves as kind of the Cheers chamber, right? You actually, everyone
I
does
love that.
know your name, and we notice when you're not there, and because we know you so well, we can connect you appropriately, and help tell your story. But sometimes you can't monetize that, right? So because membership, although is great, we all love our membership revenue, it costs us money at the end of the day. So
I would love to, it's my dream to actually not have members. And just be able to do all the things for all the people. But anyways, I haven't cracked that code yet. So the amount of time that you spend, our membership, it's like $300 a year. I'm not making any money on $300 a year, and that was intentional. We just redid that. But just pay your bill.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
we give you way more than $25 a month. And Paul, when you said we have 700 engaged members, that's that's almost the dream. Like I would rather have 800 members that I know are going to pay their membership, and I'm not gonna have to chase them, and I'm not gonna re-explain. And don't get me wrong, like I love still opening everyone's eyes onto what does a chamber do and how can we help you. And there's so many different things that we do, and there's so many layers.
Yeah.
But man, it's takes a lot of time to collect that $300.
It does. I mean, we just went through a webinar on segmentation, and I mean, I read Kyle Sexton as soon as I joined I was on the board and took this role. I looked at segmented markets, and I kind of made the determination I can't do that with 3 staff. I can do that with more staff, but I got to build revenue to be able to pay for them. And again, I look at everything from a business sense. I start with profit in mind. A lot of what I do is cost offsetting. I have tenants in here. I have a 6,000 square foot office, but I have tenants in boardrooms, and there's constantly the doors are swinging, and I get new memberships coming in. In August we grew by 17 net growth, which was good, and we have no salesperson. So you have to look at it from a business perspective and know your market. But it's amazing to me, a lot of the smaller chambers that don't look at things from a business angle. And you have to start there. And again, if you're going to lead in the business community, you need to lead with best business practices as well and be a model for those smaller businesses coming in.
And you have to be sustainable, right?
It does. And know your role in your city. We have
Yeah.
an ecosystem here, which is much different than I would imagine in Grand Prairie. We have an incubator, we have an accelerator, we have a DMZ, we have RIC coming in very soon. We have a huge college with a massive innovation department, very active city and a small business center. So the chamber historically had taken care of all of those roles and never really did anything well. I've gotten away from that. I don't do peer-to-peer mentoring or run those kinds of programs. I stay on member services and focus on where we can make maximum impact for the business community and the environment. And that is a challenge, changing your board's mindset as to what a chamber does and changing the community's perception. We're known for parties and parades and pageants, and we need to be a catalyst, a change maker and a convener in the community. So it's an evolution, and I think that's what makes this job so much fun, is that you're constantly doing something different every day.
Nimble, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's never the same. I was just going to say another thing for us to have to be mindful of, since we've all been around for so long, chamber wise, is to not have any sacred cows. So with our energy show, one good example for us is we also had this golf tournament attached to it. It was so time consuming. It was the day before. I've got some colorful words about that, which I'll keep off the line, but it was just time consuming, and it would pull someone from my team away. It would take up time ahead of time too, because you still have to get sponsorships and line up the prizes and blah, blah, blah. It didn't add anything. It added nothing to our golf or to our energy show. So this year we asked it. We had like 5 people ask about it. Now, we also had a staff member who's no longer with us. That was her sacred cow. And, I had let it go in 2022 because I'm like, okay, it's been a little while. And then I'm like, no, we were done. It wasn't, adding anything. So, and, staying in your own lane, that's why when we're also trying to figure out, like, how do we diversify our revenue? What's something that we can do that no one else can do? And that's where your region, your voice kind of came from, because we are the conveners. We are, the ones, we have excellent relationships with all 3 of our big municipalities, all 3 levels of government. And it was a little risky for them to agree to do it, right? Like, literally not scripted, literally live from the floor. But because we built that relationship over time, they trusted us to do that. So we're the only, being nonpartisan, being the business, the voice of business, we were trusted to do that. And we're literally the only ones here that can do that. So it was a good fit. It is a good fit.
That's awesome.
And it is.
I agree with you. I want to kill Santa.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Seriously.
Okay. Well, that leads into my next question for you, Paul, and Tanya, you too. So we talked about your revenue generators, and every chamber is unique, right? So you've got your energy show, Paul, you've clearly got Santa taped up and in chains in the back of the office there. But what is unique for your chamber? So is it operations? Is it events? Is it programs? We've kind of touched on that a little bit, but if you had to give a pitch for your chamber versus another chamber, what would it be?
We don't actually have chambers in close proximity.
Oh, that's great. No.
Yeah. I mean, we're super connected here.
Yeah.
So for our pitch is, our tagline is connecting business, creating opportunity, and everything we do, we try to follow through with that. And we're connected. We build great relationships. We collaborate, we don't just tell people how it is. We collaborate, we listen, and we try to figure out what our members need. So
that's great. So top level view.
I would agree. I mean, I have Aurelia, which is north of us with our good friend, Alan LaFontaine. We have Oro, there's a number of chambers in this area. The municipal chamber closed a few years back. I don't try to put myself in any kind of unique spot. I would be more willing or more apt to sell the both chambers. Like, you need to be a member of one, but you should be a member of both, especially if you operate in both areas. So I'm trying to help him, grow his membership as well. But there's power in collaboration. There's power in a regional approach to things.
And I should clarify, I didn't mean it as a competitive, like, like screw them, join us. I meant more as, what's your personal flair? So, when I look at the Barrie, the Greater Barrie Chamber of Commerce, like I mentioned before, you very much, run that business like a business. You look at profit, you look at the sustainability, and you're, I remember you once telling me, we had to fire some members, and I thought that was so great, right? So
yeah. I guess, to be honest with you, it's our ability within the community to be influential and respected. It's a 100-year-old institution. You run into issues, especially on the left side of the political spectrum, with the institutionalization of how we deal with social issues. So we started to take a bite into issues that traditionally the business community hasn't been there. So, we're becoming known for handling issues from a balanced approach, from a very nonpartisan standpoint, and being a catalyst, right? I don't have the answers. I don't have the solutions, but I know I can get this guy in a room, that guy in a room, and I can be that that organization that brings everybody together and starts to work on solutions. And I often sell us as being, chambers are, we connect people and solve problems. That's what our job is, and that's generally more the way that I approach. I'll even tell small startups, don't join the chamber right now.
Oh, I know.
Like, you don't have the money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the time to service you, because you're going to be knocking on my door every 6 seconds with things that I can't help you with. And it's maybe an ass backward approach, but I'll send them to the small business center, get established, get these things done, then come back to me when you need to connect to somebody, or you're having a municipal issue, or you need some marketing, or you're looking for value prop for your employees if you're growing. Then we're the right fit for you. I'll always be here. I'm going to represent you. You can always call me, but you don't need to give me your money at the moment.
Yeah.
And it takes time. And I guess I have a long-term approach to things. I don't like to quick fix stuff. It just doesn't work, right? The guy that takes over from me should be able to walk in and not deal with the nightmare that I did when I walked in, right?
And I'll give a shout out to small chambers out there, smaller than you guys, but for a startup, their approach to either creating a business or they've already got their doors open, touching base with the chamber could be that valuable connection to either some resources that we have in our bag, where it's advocacy programs or something like that, or it's again, that connection to other programs and services that might be even outside the community or to the chamber network as a whole. So just a little plug for the smaller guys out there, that if they're thinking maybe I should be turning away some of those startups.
No.
But like, it works for different chambers. Yeah.
Well,
it's because I have a community that has all of these other resources.
Yeah.
We look at every one of us as an entry into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I just know where my role is. My blue sky is here and not there. They can do this much better.
Yeah.
And they should be doing it. So
keep us in mind, come back later. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, you tell them, keep us in mind, come back later when you're ready to go, sort of thing. So no, that's a fantastic approach.
Just on that kind of tangent with the smaller, the startup businesses, we actually have a partnership with our Community Futures, is there the primary go-to for the startups. And they can refer a new business to us and get half of their first year at no cost. So, and when we redid our membership dues, it's $25 a month. So we've enabled members to choose that they want to pay monthly. It's still an annual commitment, and it's so tricky getting away from that transactional approach to things and making it more relationship. But we do allow the $25 a month payment. It's $25. Like you can't even go out for lunch for that barely anymore, which is awful. But anyways, it's true. So we, that partnership, and then trying to pull that trigger, because they can, there's so much value in coming to our mixers. And, for us, we host monthly mixers, and they're no extra charge. They're for members and invited guests, and you can make so many connections. Even if that's the only thing you ever did with your membership, come to our monthly mixers as a new business. that exposure is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I take it on a business by business basis. If they're coming in and they want to open another massage parlor or cannabis stores, I mean, and I've got 1,000 here, I'm very honest with them about, what the prospects are and help to sort of guide them along and put them in the right position. 9 times out of 10, they join, but the expectation is set. Like if you're coming here because you think it's going to be transactional, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
You do the reverse psychology. You don't want to be with us. Don't join us. And then they're kind of check already right there with you. I see how it is, Paul. Well done.
Yeah, a little bit.
Paul, you said before you didn't have time to do member segmentation. That's member segmentation, right? Like that.
Yeah, I don't do it formally.
I know,
but we profile, it's a horrible word, but when they come in, where do they fit? Are they a business investor? Are they a community investor?
Yeah.
And that's the sales pitch, right? Here's what's there for you. Here's the things that we can do. And the membership package they get is aligned with where we think they are, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the key is, you got to know what your community needs, right? Sometimes your community needs the parade, sorry, because no one else is willing to do it.
We'll never get rid of it. It's tied into the city. It's tied into the service clubs. And it's fun. It's just a lot of work to plan it, and whatever. It is what it is.
Are you making dollars off your parade, Paul?
Yeah, that was the only way. I said to the board again when I came. You have to understand. I came in. I was board member, treasurer for 2 years, secretary, first VP. I was going to be president. That would have been the next role, and then the pandemic hit. And then I fired the guy before me. Just finishing up that lawsuit, by the way. But at any rate, I said, look, if you want me to sit in that chair, then I need a few things, because it's not going to be the way that it was in the past, and which was very board heavy. The governance was messed up because the board had to step in. Said, you're going to leave me alone. And one of the ones is, if I'm going to run the Santa Claus Parade, I'm going to monetize it. So we sell sponsorship packages that include a float, and then we encouraged companies that don't want the float portion to donate it to charities.
Nice.
And work with them, so they wind up with the charity doing the work to build the float out, and not having the cost to be a part of the parade, and we create collaborations within the community that way, and it's been quite successful. So yeah, this year we'll have 75 floats.
Great.
So some of the floats are application based, and then some of them are sponsor derived.
Yeah, well, they're all application based, but we have different packages. You'll get more from taking a snowflake package, right? You'll wind up with some extra social media, more listings in our directory, placement in the parade. There's a lot of things you can do with it.
Yeah, so. Just we're gonna know this across the country, but there's a lot of chambers out there that are running these kind of events where it's kind of that community based, or like you get some that are saying don't do the parades anymore, for example, or that's all they can do. But just trying to shake the cage on some of them, because like they are doing those parades, but they're doing them, at it's just a pure cost to them and time suck. But if they can do some of those levels, that's pretty neat. Thanks for sharing.
I mean, we're not getting rich off it by all means. There's a little bit so that I can cover staff time. But again, it actually does advance us. It does get me into larger businesses that aren't transactional, won't come out to a business after 5. It's the only way they engage is we'll see them at parade time, because they, we have a massive company called DeCast that does, huge concrete forming. They always put a float in. So I get an opportunity to, on the social side, deal with the CEO there and have some fun over some eggnog, whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Kate, want to dive in another layer with you guys. We already talked about your staff a little bit, but Tanya, if we could maybe start with you. Curious about with your team, like you've got a big group there. What are maybe some roles that are really driving your chamber's success, and how are you, on that business level, how are you attracting and retaining your talent?
Yeah, you know what? We're fortunate. We have very good retention here. I've been here for 6.5 years now. One of my colleagues just celebrated 16 years. Somebody this year celebrated 10 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
another one of my colleagues is working on her 10th year. So she just celebrated 9 years. And so my other colleague, he actually was a temporary employee that we had through another program. We had the Digital Service Squad. It was some government funding from the feds and then administered through BusinessLink through the province of Alberta. But anyways, he's a rock star. And so I poached him. We had a mat leave kind of shuffle, and then I had a permanent position open up. So I moved someone over to the mat leave, and then I sold him for the mat leave, and now someone else moved on. So I have him there. So really, I mean, with the 6 positions, they actually all work like a puzzle piece together, because there's so much, everybody relies on everybody else. I mean, 6 people to do all that we do is enough, barely. So we have our marketing and promotions is kind of our newest role, probably, because, you know, marketing and promotions has changed so much over the years. So we've got communications and public relations, and previously to that, you know, that was also kind of the marketing role. So we've kind of peeled that away, because, you know, we utilize Canva and, you know, social media, you know, Facebook and LinkedIn are big for us. Instagram, we're trying, and it's a slog, but we're trying. So he takes care of that, and he takes care of all of our graphics, and, you know, we've got 2 newsletters that go out every week, and he takes care of one of them. And then our membership. So we don't really have a membership salesperson either. I mean, with 1,100 members, we, you know, welcome new members on a regular basis, but we also have 1,100 members to, you know, retain and build those relationships with. So, you know, she's an integral part of the team. You know, our finance and operations is another piece. We also, so we don't own our building, but it's a partnership. We kind of own it. I don't know. I'm not going to dive into that, but we manage the building as part of what we do. It's a partnership with the city. So, you know, she is our glue with the building, and she helps keep our team on track, you know, with just following up on different things with different events or the comings and goings of members and collecting the bills. And then we usually have events and community partnerships as a role. That's the role that's been vacant now since March. That's been hard. So when, you know, we were uncertain how long they were going to be gone for. 3 months now has turned into 9 months. So I took on a lot of the sponsorship side of things that I don't typically do, which has kind of been fun, and it's put a different lens on things for me. And I've seen some deficiencies in systems that I'm like, what do you mean we don't have this to keep track, right? I was like, what? So anyways, we've got some good systems in place now, and I've been able to have those one-on-one conversations that I might not have had before. But events are time consuming, right? Like, and there's so many details and there's so many layers, right? You know, making sure that your sponsors are taken care of and all the commitments are followed through with, and making sure you're getting bums and seats, and making sure you got the catering, right? Like, so many different things. So the newest role I created, which is currently a temporary role, and I'm hoping it grows into a permanent role, but it's membership and events assistant. So I'm still, you know, I toyed with the idea of bringing in someone temporary in that role that's vacant, but it's too much. It's all important, but trying to sell sponsorships temporarily with like a new person, there's just a disaster.
Yeah.
Kind of waiting. So I decided to keep the sponsorship myself. My membership person is also, she's a rock star with sales, and so she's helping with sponsorships too, and then all the admin stuff. So bringing on a new member, I mean, we use GrowZone as our CRM. It's great, but there's like a lot of layers, right? So
Yeah.
making sure that the member gets set up properly, and then when you add a new event, you know, it's got to get added into GrowZone. Plus, we have a board management software; it's got to get added into there, and so, you know, all those administrative things that are so important, and, you know, for ribbon cuttings, making sure all the checklist of things. So she's brand new. It's like the last 2 weeks kind of thing. I also poached her from our digital service squad. That program's coming to an end, but she's already been working with us for a couple of years, just like on the kind of the peripheral, and she's a rock star. So I'm excited to see what that grows to. I have her hired until the end of February for now. I'm going to be going to budget. I'm pitching to extend her temporarily till the end of August, and then ideally we'll be firing with 7 people on all cylinders, and maybe it'll be a permanent role. 8's my wish list number on my 3-year target, 8 people in the right seats. So 7 would be a good kind of catalyst to getting there.
Good for you.
Wow.
Paul, what about you?
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
you can probably see everybody in your office, you know, because
yeah,
there's
well,
a few of you.
actually, it's a big office. Like, you should come. We have an art gallery in here. We have local community changes out the art every 3 months, and
Wow.
Cool.
I host about 3 B&I groups. They're in here all the time as well. Again, just because I have the space. It used to be the Barrie Enterprise Resource Network space, and then they lost their funding, and we took it over. Yeah, so I have 2 full-time staff. When I took over, I gently ousted the former team that was in here. One had been around for about 19 years. Had one on mat leave that didn't come back. She went to work for a local bank, and then it's just you have natural attrition. But the people that I hired to put in place, Tricia is she ran the chamber in Bradford, and was the CA, or the chief operating officer, I guess, down there. I had about 7 years worth of experience when she was there. She's now been with us for 2 years, but had a lot of chamber experience, so knew what she was doing. But she also has a background in web design, and in graphic artists, all that kind of stuff. So as I brought her on, the goal was to start embracing automation and technology. So I needed somebody that could manage that, because I'm an idiot. I can turn my phone on and text people, but I needed somebody that could actually do the work. And so she was basically my comms and administration. She looks after all of the communications to go out, speech writing, all that kind of stuff. And then on the other side of membership services, I wanted to focus more on retention, on keeping the members we have and making sure they were happy, working on value prop. That person also has a background in managing membership. She's also involved in a large event that I'm involved in, called Kempin Fest. So there was some, I'd already worked with her, so I knew what her work ethic was. She's also very young, has a great work ethic. So she looks after membership services, but also all that onboarding and administration stuff that you were talking about, Tanya, which is so important. So, we've moved to Monday to do a lot of our event planning. It moves through the team at different stages. I sell, from a sponsorship side, we build out the package, but we did a lot of things like standardized all of our branding. So all of our events basically use the same colors. They all look basically the same. And then we have to make small tweaks to get them ready for the next event. So it doesn't take as much work. So a lot of the back end stuff that just took a ton of time, we smoothed it out, automated it. It's still creative. It still looks great, but it's a lot easier to get accomplished. And then it's an all hands on deck approach when we have events coming up and some things get shelved. From time to time, I'll bring in part-time people, mainly on data aggregation, that kind of stuff, cleaning up databases, making phone calls. When we rolled out Chamber Perks, we brought somebody in to help us roll it. And I'll bring summer students back in once I get off of I was not allowed to have them for 2 years because I didn't file fast enough one year.
No.
Yeah, so I'll get them back next year. And we also have a co-op coming in that is from the college, who's a part of a collaboratory project that we're working with the college, and as a part of a grant. So it may seem like a small team, and we rely on our board. The board gets involved on committees to do some work.
Hey, Paul, can we go back to your part-time staff? So how do you do that? Because I've often looked at that, and I know that some chambers can't afford to keep full-time people all year long. So do you have a set number of people you draw upon, or you advertise for that position?
No, you know what? I just keep my eyes and ears open, and when I come across a student, and again, we have a really close connection with the college. So if I need somebody that has a specific skill set, I'll call them up and say I need somebody. There's the Y has there's a couple of different programs with them. We also have College Boreal. If I need translation stuff done, I'll pull somebody in short term. But what I do is I pop it into the budget, so I always have the money to spend. And then as needed, I'll put them in. If I don't need it, or we're getting tight, then we'll just work harder. And I'll pull them out of the budget. But yeah, it's ebb and flow, right? I mean, that's again, what happens in the chamber is very cyclic. But my rule is one day's work in one day. It's a full week, but if you need to work from home, you work from home. So I'm very flexible that way. And it allows these guys to, they don't put in a lot of overtime. They get their work done and we move on. And if we can't get it done, we can't get it done. Right. So
Yeah.
it's just a different mindset. Right.
Hmm.
And again, from a manager standpoint, I mentioned box management. Look, at the end of the day, I'll say to the team, I want cake. I don't care what's in the cake. I don't get me bogged down with the details of what's in the cake. I want cake. I want the cake to look like this. You figure it out. And then if they need budget, then I work that through with the board and sort of clear the way. And I fill the gaps wherever necessary.
I want
I like
cake
that.
too.
I want cake. I
I
like
want
cake.
cake.
Yeah.
And I do
Um,
want the don't tell me what's in the cake, because
Yeah. And
Yeah,
just don't,
just
we
get
don't
it
get bogged
done.
down in details, right? And
yeah.
no meetings. I don't have meetings.
Oh
We have
my
a daily
God.
huddle and a conversation about what we're working on for the week and what's a priority. And that's it. We have enough meetings everywhere else. They just
Yeah.
suck time and you don't get anything accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have one thing to add. We don't do policy in-house traditionally. We have a
Mhm.
policy writer that we contract, but
That's
she's
my missing component.
but she's retired. So
Uh-oh.
we also rely heavily on our board, namely our executive, kind of to feed into the advocacy items and the policy stuff, because they've got so many ears on the ground with different members. So with the way that I've got the team now, and taking some stuff off of communications and PR, and building up that role to do more of the policy writing. He's a fabulous writer, and so he shadowed with our policy contractor before she's kind of moved on, and she's just a text away. So next year he'll be writing our policies, and so that'll be a change for us, because we have normally kind of farmed it out, but it's good, it's exciting. He's ready for the challenge, and we don't do tons and tons of policy, but we try to have a policy every year, at least. I mean, but only if it's relevant. We're not just, no one's got time to write policy for the sake of policy.
Yeah. Good
Right?
point.
Sometimes less is
that's,
more.
And that's really where I spend most of my time, is on policy and stuff. And not necessarily writing it. We're not there yet. We want to hire somebody. I want to hire somebody and share them with Aurelia, because then we can focus on regional issues and share the cost on a weekly basis. Finding that right individual, having enough work for them, that's the key.
Yeah.
But that would be our next hire, quite honestly, that's where the money would go.
They can be Santa. They can dress up like Santa and be your policy advisor.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, guys,
Therapist.
you're not even going to believe this. We've been talking for almost an hour. So we clearly have to move this to the bar and get a glass of wine or a beer. So I'm going to I think I'm going to end with one more question, and then we'll wrap it up, because I know, Paul, you've got to get to a press conference just after this too. So, I've just been thinking a lot about how we run our chambers. So if you could both maybe give me a brief overview on, running your chamber. How do you work on your chamber instead of in your chamber? And Paul, you kind of touched on that with the cake, like give me the cake, not the details. So Paul, I'll start with you, and then Tanya will end with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it is you have to tell people where you want to go, and then they'll help you along. And within our community, I know what we were, and I know where we should go. So I spend a lot of time talking with stakeholders about, are we on the right track? Is this what you need? Where do you want us to go? And then we work to sort of fill those issues, and getting the board to buy in on what your vision is. You can have a strategic plan, that's great, but a strategic plan is a piece of paper, you got to work it. But the strategic plan has to fit with where you actually want to do the work that is going to be the most impactful in the community. And then getting everybody talking along those lines. And it's amazing what happens when you start getting that those wheels rolling. You'll get phone calls. Hey, I listened, you supported this. I saw a note in the paper, I'd like to get involved. And it kind of takes you on the path that you're going. And in my opinion, from an inside standpoint, operation standpoint, that's the easy part, really, when you get down to it. It's time consuming, but my background was McDonald's for 30 years. I'm very much systems oriented and process oriented. This is how we do things. This is, these are their manuals, and we stick to that. It means when something's broken, you can go back and fix it, but it also keeps you on track, right? We have a calendar when we start events and do different things. And it allows you to pivot where you need to. So I don't know. I mean, that's how I work on the chamber is
Yeah.
on that big vision, that big hairy idea standpoint, and then drag everybody along. Boil the frog really is what it comes down
Love
to.
it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we have the worst sayings in the chamber world. I swear to God, we're killing Santa, eating a boiled frog.
Yeah.
Tanya, how about you? How do you focus on the big picture versus getting bogged down in the weeds?
So we actually 3 years ago started using the EOS system, so Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's based on the book by Gino Wickman called Traction,
Yeah,
and it has been life-changing. There you go. Yep. So
got my notes.
it is
Get a
honestly,
grip.
it has changed our operations immensely. So we do have weekly meetings. They're called our L10s, our level 10 meetings. Same time, same place, same agenda. So we meet for an hour and a half once a week, and we go through the issues that are most important. You know, we've got a scorecard as part of the system. So keeping track of metrics that let us know if we're on track or off track. Every quarter, we do a full day of planning. So we just came off our last quarterly last week, and annual planning. So I guess it starts with the annual planning. The annual planning takes a look at the year ahead, 3 years, and then 10 years out. So we know we've got a snapshot of where we want to go. So then each quarter, we build our rocks, is what they're called. So the most important things to focus on this quarter, and the rocks move us forward closer to our 1 year goal and our 3 year goal and 10 year goal. And sometimes there's just company rocks. Sometimes there's individual rocks, and every week we check in on them. You're either on track, you're off track. You know, if you're off track, maybe you gotta, bump it down and talk about it. And you talk about issues. It's called IDSing, identify, discuss, and solve. But honestly, it's open communication. It's helped keep ourselves and each other accountable. There's a to-do list part of the weekly meetings. And if you put something on the to-do list, you're committing to get it done in the next 7 days. And it's been monumental. So everything we do, I mean, it aligns. We have our strategic plan, and that's another whole conversation. And we've started something kind of new there. But everything we do, of course, is in alignment with the strategic plan and supported by the board overall. But for operations' sake, it has been a life changer. I think every chamber, big or small, use EOS. It will change your life.
Yeah.
Love it.
Amazing.
Especially
Yeah,
with a team of like 6 to 8. Very easy when you have 3. When you start getting bigger, yeah, I would certainly start adapting some different processes. But again, you do what works for you. And but EOS is obviously I read it. I look at all kinds of different things and then take bits and pieces that work and adapt as necessary. But you're bang on, Tanya, for sure.
some fantastic nuggets here. Really appreciate it. Tanya, Paul, thank you so much for joining us here. Again, another episode where Melanie and I are just selfish and taking a bunch of notes and walking away with everything. But I hope everybody that was joining us either, on the YouTube or on Spotify, however they're consuming these, have written a pile of this and hopefully gain some inspiration, because I think, there's some stuff that you've shared here that translates big or small, any chamber size. It's something that you can replicate or just transition and make your own sort of thing. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here, and appreciate us understanding how you are running your businesses, your chambers there. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Looking
guys.
forward to Halifax. We'll have a case of beer and some headlights, and we'll solve all the chamber problems.
Yeah, we will definitely continue this conversation for
Gonna
sure.
be awesome.
In the headlights. I
Thanks,
thought that
guys.
was a shot. I was like,
No. Listen, I run lots of events, big events, and it always winds up at the end during teardown that there's a case of beer and the headlights are on because you haven't got any lights left, and you sit and commiserate, and we solve everything for the following
secret to
year.
your success. I love
There you
it.
go.
You just need a sober person to take notes because you never
Oh.
wins.
Wow. You guys have been awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.